Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our participants who have joined us from Barbados. It's good morning to you, and good afternoon to our participants from Kenya. I'm really pleased to note that we also have participants online who have joined us from other parts of the continent of Africa, primarily Cameroon and Ghana, as well as participants from the United Kingdom, the USA, and Canada. A warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us for this important engagement session. I am Michelle Laban-Clark, and I'm the Executive Director at the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and it is my distinct pleasure to be your moderator for the first of our virtual dialogue series themed Demystifying the Barbados and Kenya markets. And this is hosted by the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with the Kenya National Chamber. So just to give you a little context, the virtual dialogue series is intended to build bridges between Barbados and Kenya as we seek to explore and take advantage of bilateral trade and investment opportunities that exist within both markets. And this is against the background of ongoing efforts by the government of Barbados to strengthen and increase bilateral trade with Kenya and other markets in Africa as part of its export and economic diversification push. So today's session brings together almost 100 participants who have registered, and they're drawn from trade and business sector, including retail, manufacturing, transportation and distribution, consulting, telecommunications, ICT, hospitality and tourism, as well as insurance, banking and finance. This session provides a platform for all our participants to engage, and it will provide an opportunity for information sharing that we hope will, one, facilitate the building of greater awareness and understanding of the business environment, culture, and other practices that you need to know when doing business in both markets. We hope that it will also unearth the potential opportunities for trade and investment that exists between Barbados and Kenya and the wider continent of Africa. We also hope to identify the challenges or barriers that exist in both markets and how you can navigate these challenges with the support of the business facilitation and investment and promotion agencies that have been included in this program, and you'll hear from them later today. So it is our hope that today's virtual dialogue session will also facilitate connections between business interests on both sides that can be further explored as positive and meaningful outcomes from our discussions and engagement today. So we really are honored to hear from key representatives from Barbados and Kenya, led by the Honorable Sandra Husbands, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Business Development. Welcome, Minister, and good morning. The High Commissioner, William Alexander MacDonald, and he's a High Commissioner of Barbados to the Republic of Kenya. Welcome, High Commissioner. We also have our president, the president of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and my boss, Mr. Anthony Branca. We also have present with us, we should have had the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but we have to tender apologies because he had pressing matters this morning, and so he will be represented by the second vice president of the Kenya National Chamber, Ms. Fatma Alawi. We will also hear perspectives from the representatives from the Barbados Invest, Kenya Investment Authority, and Kenya Promotion and Branding Agencies. So just before I invite our first speaker to officially kick off today's virtual dialogue session, please allow me to share just a few housekeeping matters to ensure the smooth flow of our session today. Participants, you will have an opportunity for Q&A during that segment. And so we invite you to place your questions in the Q&A chat box in your Zoom panel on the right of your screen, or you can request to have your microphone unmuted during the Q&A segment, and we will allow you to ask your questions live. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Anthony Branca, President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce, and he also wears the hat as Assistant Vice President responsible for business development and strategy at Massey Distribution, to give brief remarks. Mr. Branca, it is my pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here this morning. The Honorable Sandra Husbands, MP Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business Development. High Commissioner William Alexander MacDonald, High Commissioner of Barbados to the Republic of Kenya. Second Vice President of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Fatma El-Yawi. Executives of business support organizations, investment promotion agencies, other distinguished speakers, panelists, guests, members of the media, I say welcome to you. On Wednesday, the 6th, 2021, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce formally made its intention clear to foster greater collaboration with the Kenya business community by signing a MOU with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The purpose of this MOU was to establish the principles and basis for facilitating cooperation between the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and to advance the common interests of increasing, in a mutually beneficial manner, business relations between the members and stakeholders represented by both chambers. The MOU, as designed, automatically renews for a successive period of 3 years unless either party notifies of intention to terminate 6 months before expiry of that period. But more importantly, it also contains a review clause mandating parties to review the progress made on achieving the objectives on a regular basis. Kenya is indeed a promising market for Barbados due to its large market size, its importance as the economic, financial, and logistics hub of Eastern Africa. It has a business-friendly environment. Its legal system is based mainly on the English common law, and the fact that English is one of the 2 official languages. However, due to the limited trade which currently exists, and therefore limited familiarity, Barbadian businesses have of the Kenyan market and its opportunities. Sessions like today and the relationship between the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and the Kenya Chamber is important in facilitating business activity. Barbados and Kenya currently lack a preferential trade agreement, nor is there a long-established relationship of trading between the 2 countries. And hence, there are key challenges which need to be addressed if we are to advance trade. 1, we have to raise the familiarity of the Barbados Chamber and the Kenya Chamber members of the trade and investment opportunities in each other's country, as well as knowledge of each other's culture, business practices, and business environments. 2, we have to raise awareness of each other's legal systems. Although Kenya's legal system and institutions are based primarily, as I said, on the English common law, there are some aspects of the traditional legal system which exist and with which Barbadian firms may need to familiarize themselves. Thirdly, we need to raise awareness of the trade and investment related policies, legislation, and standards of each other's countries, especially those sanitary and phytosanitary standards, technical barriers to trade, and other technical standards. We need to ascertain the Barbados Chamber's members' export and import interests in the Kenya's market. We have to openly discuss and bring some level of clarity around perceptions of corruption in Kenya. Now, while there is no visa required for Kenyans to visit Barbados or vice versa, the lack of direct air links might be, and more than likely is, a distinctive disincentive, for travel, for leisure, or for business. The lack of mutual recognition agreements means that it will not be easy for service providers, particularly in the professional services, to ply their trade in each other's country. Accessing trade financing to facilitate exporting to Kenya or investing in Kenya might be problematic for Barbadian business as well. And lastly, there is no double taxation agreement in place between Kenya and Barbados, nor is there a bilateral investment treaty. So those are some of the challenges that upfront we at the Chamber perceive at this time. But even amidst these challenges, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce is of the view that the exchange of ideas and information which can occur under our MOU can significantly assist the Barbados Chamber and the Kenya Chamber in providing feedback to their respective governments on ways in which trade between the two countries could be made easier. The Barbados Chamber looks forward to continued collaboration and cooperation with the Kenya Private Sector Association in conjunction with the Barbados Private Sector Association, with the Kenya Chamber of Commerce and Kenya at large, for the benefit of Barbados and the Kenya economies. We therefore renew our commitment here today in facilitating cooperation between the business community of Barbados and our brothers and sister businesses in Kenya. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President Branco. You have set the tone for our discussions, and you have been very forthright in highlighting the fact that there are challenges and barriers to be overcome, but we also look forward to the positive outcomes that we can explore. And I really am confident that the engagement today, particularly as we hear from our panelists, will be able to answer some of the issues and concerns that you have raised. Thank you once again. And at this time, our next speaker is Ms. Fatma Elmawi, and she is a serial entrepreneur, master trainer, and second vice president for the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And we will hear from her as she delivers brief remarks on behalf of the president of the Kenya Chamber. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Elmawi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Misha. It's a pleasure to be here. Allow me to start with thanking and appreciating Honorable Sandra Hasmans for giving us your time this afternoon. Also, Your Excellency to Kenya, High Commissioner William Alexander, and my colleague from the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that is President Andrew Branca. Thank you very, very much for giving us your time and for being here with us this afternoon. I would also want to thank the participants who've actually given us their time in order to listen in, to tune in, and look at areas where they can plug in as business people, as policymakers, both from Barbados and from Kenya. And of course, I am talking about Kenya Investment and Kenya Promotion Agency, which are here with us today. I want to start by saying a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one. Now, this step has been taken already, and it's for us here today to take extra steps in order to reach those 1,000 miles. So first, I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our friends from Barbados who have joined us for this virtual forum. Kenya and Barbados share a common goal. That is a goal of promoting economic growth between our two countries. And I believe, as has been said by the president of BCCI, it is us working together in order to achieve this great success and create new opportunities for our business people and our citizens within the two countries. Allow me to reiterate, Kenya is a country with a vibrant and diverse economy, and it offers numerous opportunities for investors from Barbados as well as around the world. We are strategically located in East Africa. I think God loved us because in East Africa, there is access to the East African market. There is access to COMESA, that is the Eastern and South African market. There is also the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Having this strategic location, and coupled with the fact that Kenya's economy is growing rapidly with an average annual growth of around 5 to 6% over the past decade. This growth is also driven by a diverse range of sectors. And this is important to both of us because we are able to look at a much wider scope for us to be able to plug into each other's economy. Kenya has a very, very high-skilled workforce, which is young and dynamic. Educated professionals, including engineers, IT specialists, finance, and other skilled workers who can help drive business between the two countries. We also offer a range of incentives. And of course, having taken these steps, it is something that we would love to talk about and to explore further to see what incentives can we give to our brothers who want to come and invest in Kenya. These include tax breaks, tax exemptions, as well as investment guarantees, which will help in reducing the cost of doing business. Kenya has an abundance of natural resources of which we are willing to work with you in order to explore these natural resources together. We can also, our exports to Barbados, of course, include tea, coffee, flowers, agricultural, and machinery. On the other hand, we could also work together and look at the pharmaceuticals that are from Barbados, animal and vegetable oils, and as well as machinery. So I am pleased to note that we can also work on tourism, and what has been said by the president BCCI is the fact that we can also work on cultural tourism between the two countries. This way, the opportunities become even bigger, okay, in terms of renewable energy, in terms of ICT, and of course, I've spoken about tourism as well as the agricultural sector. Now, Barbados is known for its excellent infrastructure, skilled workforce as well, and an attractive investment climate. Now, these are factors that make Barbados very, very attractive for Kenyans. And we are asking you also to look into Kenya so that it is not one-way traffic. We are looking at a traffic that goes both ways, meaning that we can work in agriculture, we can work in the horticultural sector, we can work in tourism, we can work in joint marketing and promotion of the two countries. Having said that, we can only grow stronger together. We need to work together. We have taken this first step, and the next one is to look into to work with the technicians so that the technical teams, as has been advised by the president, how can we advise our governments? What are the areas that the two countries actually look into opportunities that they can work on and create the necessary policies that enable the business people to talk to each other. I strongly believe by working together, Kenya and Barbados can achieve great success. And for us to get this great success, we once again need to look into areas that will be beneficial to the Kenyans and will be beneficial for people from Barbados, advise our respective governments, and then go deeper, create more depth, and see where are the opportunities so that the business people can actually take advantage of those opportunities. Having said that, I welcome you to Kenya. I welcome the speakers so that this becomes not the first step, but the 10th step towards 1,000 miles journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatma. I like the strong note on which you ended. We are stronger together, and we definitely can work together. You have broken down in a nutshell the positives that exist on both sides, which we will further explore in today's engagement and as we continue to dialogue. But you are correct that in reality, the future of our countries, the future sustainability of our countries depend largely on us tapping into the opportunities that exist, and they do exist. So I thank you once again.
Madam Misha, before you continue,
yes.
Madam Misha, before you continue, I would like to once again convey apologies from the Chamber President. You know, he's had to travel. He was not able to be with us today. As you know, he came to Barbados, and this is one project that he really would love to see it to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Second Vice President. We appreciate that. And please convey our appreciation for the support that he has provided, even as we unveil this virtual dialogue series. At this time, it really is my pleasure to introduce you to the Honorable Sandra Husbands, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Business Development here in Barbados. And her portfolio responsibility includes advancing trade opportunities within CARICOM and across the wider globe. And she has a passion for human development and enterprise success. She also has a passion for governance and building strong economic and social platforms which enable people to live their best lives. And so really, we feel that there's no better person to speak and address us. And Minister, it is always such a pleasure and a delight to have you share with the Chamber. You have been with us from the beginning when we signed the MOU in October 2021. You addressed the business forum we hosted with Kenya, the Kenya delegation then, and you are here with us again. And I just want to say thank you so much. Over to you, Minister Husbands.
Hi, good morning, and thank you so much for that welcome. I have to express my delight at what I've heard so far. And I really appreciate this wonderful opportunity, this wonderful next step, as was shared by the previous speaker, that we're taking today. I want to start by saluting our High Commissioner, William Alexander MacDonald, High Commissioner of Barbados to the Republic of Kenya, Mrs. Mishka Loban-Clark, Executive Director, Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I also want to be able to salute this morning Mr. Anthony Branker, President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Fatma El-Mawi, Second Vice President, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And let me congratulate you on that excellent, stimulating speech. Ms. Renata Mohammed, Director of Investment and Marketing in Invest Barbados. Mr. David Yamina, Manager of Product Development, Kenya Promotion and Branding Agency. Ms. Alicia Nichols, International Trade Consultant, Sridhar Ramphal Center, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure really to be here with you this morning. We are embarking on a very critical mission between our respective chambers of commerce, and I am overjoyed at the combined endeavor between the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry to provide a platform for Barbadian and Kenyan business persons to discuss ways to improve trade between our countries. I want to congratulate and heartily applaud both chambers on their boldness to use collective brain power and capital to find ways to facilitate business development. However, as we all know, political cooperation alone cannot improve trade between Africa and the Caribbean, and hence more must be done, and this is what is happening today. Political cooperation started the process as it moved both regions in the right direction. We had exchanges of visits between our president and the Prime Minister of Barbados. We had visits of people coming over from Kenya to Barbados and Barbados going to Kenya. One of the most powerful steps, however, that took us in a very strong direction was the hosting of the first ever Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which was held in Barbados in 2022. Now, this forum has proved successful as it really commenced many initiatives aimed at advancing trade and investment. More importantly, it has begun to strengthen relations between the private sectors in Africa and the Caribbean. Now, Kenya is one of our most important partners in Africa, and they really have been excellent at pursuing and advancing this relationship, and we really welcome this. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has a population of over 15 million persons, and this really presents a very viable opportunity for the movement of capital, goods, and services. We have a big example in the world of how much dynamic growth can be generated when we look at what China was able to do using the advantage of its market size of 1.5 billion. This allowed them to build enterprises to scale and generate some serious economic growth. Thus, we must develop a plan as to how we would all meaningfully participate in the African market, which is 1.3 billion strong, including those Africans who now reside outside of the motherland. So this journey started out as preliminary discussions on exploring ways of establishing direct air and sea links to enable the free movement of goods and services between the two countries. And it led to the establishment of bilateral agreements between our countries. What we have been able to sign, and I'm very proud of these three agreements that we were able to develop since 2021 to enhance our bilateral trade relations. They are in the areas of trade and investment, the bilateral air services, and the international section of the National Botanical Gardens Agreement. Through the bilateral air services agreement, Kenya can take advantage of the direct flights to New York through code sharing with airlines flying to Barbados, and this will improve Barbados's trade relations in terms of providing the opportunity for the export of Kenyan products, which were listed already by the previous speaker. It also provides a tremendous opportunity for Barbadian business people to also have the opportunity to move some air cargo. Apart from these wonderful developments between our countries, there's clear room for improvement as it relates to trade. As a result of the increased political cooperation in the past 2 years, imports from Kenya have increased by 31%, and we hope that there will be more. However, Barbados exports to Kenya have decreased by 10%. Thus, it shows that we have to utilize these new initiatives to ramp up our own export potential. It is to our benefit, therefore, that we must continue to focus on deepening our people-to-people interactions, as it is the foundation for generating all economic activity. More people-people interaction creates greater receptivity to the goods and products which they offer. And so part of our strategy for supporting the Barbadian enterprises that wish to engage the African continent and wish to engage Kenya is for us to be pursuing and building through our mission and the good services of our ambassador to establish linkages between communities, between clubs and associations, having exchanges between schools, universities, cultural groups and practitioners, as well as media broadcasts. This will help to knit together the peoples in a bond of friendship, which will create the receptivity for trade and traded goods and services in both populations. We know that this is an important role that will help to prepare the ground for profitable and meaningful relationships when it comes to trade. Now, ladies and gentlemen, despite our established trade relations with the European Union and North America, we have neglected our trade with Africa. And it really is incumbent on us that we begin to make trade with Africa a priority for us, both here in Barbados and across the region. Indeed, COVID-19 emphasized the fact that we needed to deepen our South-South relations so that we are able to help each other in times of trouble. It really concretized for CARICOM the importance of South-South cooperation within the context of survival for the global South. And so it is against this background that Kenya and improving our relations with Kenya has become a necessary imperative. Now, historically, as a result of colonization, we would have established a north-south pattern to trade, which specifically explains our current logistics and financing patterns. That dominance in the logistics and finance of trade gives dominance to those who own and control the maritime transport and who own and control the financial architecture that would facilitate trade between the developing countries. These are important and critical factors for developing trade, and this is why one of the first priorities for the Barbados government was to establish a direct air link with Kenya and other African states in order to build out a very significant relationship that would accelerate our trade. Distance will no longer be an issue since we have that air services agreement, and we are continuing to look within the region at logistics as our business people seek to engage each other. Avenues such as the transformation of South-South trade can unlock the untapped potential of trade between Kenya and Barbados. Barbados' signature of the Trade and Investment Agreement with Kenya constituted a major advancement for the promotion and development of South-South cooperation and trade between Africa and the Caribbean. Now, this now clears the path for the Afreximbank and the co-parties to begin their joint venture to realize the benefits of closer trade and economic links. Indeed, emerging niches such as fintech and other high-value niche sectors are areas in which Africa is now seen as an incubator. So there are lots of opportunities there. The US $1.5 billion financing approved by the board of directors of Afreximbank for CARICOM enables our countries to access the bank's financing instruments through financing facilities that support various identified economic sectors. Now, these include tourism, healthcare, renewable energy, shipping, mining, agriculture, agribusiness, air links, and agriculture. Afreximbank will also work to support local financial institutions to force financing for our small and medium-sized enterprises. And this will give them a roadmap that will allow them to be able to be more aggressive in export, that they too can grow and benefit from this relationship with Kenya and with Africa. Now, the public and private sectors must continue to work together to develop these networks to assist our African and Caribbean importers, investors, and exporters to fill the knowledge gaps and spot the market opportunities. As such, Barbados has developed and is continuing to develop an electronic single window, which would be absolutely integral in expediting Barbados's business procedures to facilitate such trade. This window will allow stakeholders to satisfy business formalities in an electronic and paperless processing environment. It can also allow for the ease of doing business and provide the steps necessary for creating a business in that particular country. The access of this network would enlighten traders who have misconceptions about risks or the ease of doing business in a market that they have not operated in before. This will help them to have greater confidence to reach out beyond our normal shores. Governments also have the responsibility to utilize their telecoms technology and investment promotion organizations to increase transparency regarding trade in Barbados and Kenya. The filling of the knowledge gap requires providing credible market intelligence, tailored training, such as what we have embarked on here in Barbados, commercial diplomacy for our public officers to help promote goods and services in the missions, and matchmaking between buyers and sellers through our global computer portals, which would ease business functions between the supplier and the producer of goods. I strongly believe that consistency in staging the type of event we have here today, along with regular trade fairs and business-to-business meetings, will give representatives the opportunity to increase their contacts between Kenya and Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, we must focus on the future possibilities of trade, and Barbados has as one of its goals not only to boost trade between Kenya and Barbados, but to act as a logistics hub for the region and for Latin America. So there is a lot of work to be done. Services is one of the key areas for Barbados to trade with Kenya. And these can be from the traditional financial services to the newly introduced creative services, tourism services, etc. So I want to encourage our Barbadian service providers and manufacturers of our niche products to work diligently to seek out those trade opportunities to strengthen our South-South trade or trade with Kenya. In closing, this dialogue series must remain important and occur on a quarterly basis. It is an opportune time for Barbadian and Kenyan stakeholders to be together over the next few days to brainstorm and agree on ways to facilitate trade between Kenya and Barbados. This includes the strengthening of partnerships and continuous communication. I wish you all a fruitful and productive dialogue series. I also hope that we will leave this series with a strong determination to continue to enhance the trade capacity development in our countries. We can all agree that increased trade leads to more economic growth, leads to more jobs, and therefore more development. We have strong bonds and ties which make it natural that we should work together in a common area of trade. As a government, we will continue to support the efforts of both parties in advancing trade in our respective jurisdictions. I want to assure you that I eagerly await the outcome of this series to further discuss what other things we need to put in place to support you in this effort to build our South-South trade through Kenya. So let's continue our efforts to demystify trade between our economies. Let us work to create and nurture and foster sustainable economies, and let us move together as one. Ladies and gentlemen, have a very successful and fruitful engagement today.
Thank you very much, Minister Husbands. You have underscored for us and reminded us that Kenya and the other countries in Africa are seen as important partners for Barbados' economic growth agenda. There are opportunities, as you have reminded us, to increase trade, and certainly the Barbados government has already started to accelerate the opportunities to facilitate growth. And that is why this session is bringing together the trade community on both sides so that we can advance that discussion, we can engage. And I'd like to assure you, Minister, that the vision for the dialogue series doesn't end here. It's the first of, as I had announced earlier, the first of series that we will be hosting between both chambers, where we will be bringing all the different sector players together to engage and build meaningful connection. But it begins with bridging the knowledge gap, understanding what is involved in doing business. It's getting to know the two markets. So thank you very much for your support to the chambers as we advance this agenda. At this time, we're about to begin our panel discussion. And as a reminder, I'd like to remind you that you have an opportunity to pose your questions to the members of the panel. So please post your questions in the Q&A chat box in your Zoom panel, or as we said, at the appropriate time, you will be acknowledged as you ask your questions. But before we do that, I'd like to hand over to Ms. Alicia Nichols, International Trade Consultant, Junior Research Fellow, who will be facilitating today's panel discussion and Q&A segment. And Alicia, thank you so much for the support that you have been providing the Barbados Chamber on our journey towards creating this virtual dialogue series. Over to you, Alicia, at this time.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It is certainly my pleasure. Protocol having been established. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon to those of you in Kenya or joining us around the world. Welcome. We're happy to have you here. My name is Alicia Nichols, International Trade Consultant and also Junior Research Fellow with the Shreda Franfal Center of the University of the West Indies. And thank you for the kind invitation to facilitate what promises to be an insightful and informative panel in this first BCCI KNCCI virtual dialogue series. And as you would have heard from Ms. Loban Clark, it is one of the initiatives following on from their MOU and will be ongoing. So we're talking here this morning about demystifying these two markets. What is the business climate like in Kenya and Barbados? What are some of the opportunities available for businesses to trade and to invest in both markets? What are some of the promising sectors? What are some existing barriers and challenges? And how can these be navigated? And what assistance is available to those seeking to explore these markets? To answer these burning questions and more, which I am sure you have, I'm truly pleased to be joined by an expert panel comprising His Excellency High Commissioner William Alexander MacDonald, High Commissioner of Barbados to the Republic of Kenya, Ms. Renata Mohammed, Director, Investment and Marketing of Invest Barbados, Mr. P.S. Rotish, Manager Investments at Ken Invest, and Mr. David Yamina, Manager Product Development, Kenya Promotion and Branding Agency. Each of our distinguished panelists will speak for 10 minutes. We will take questions after the first two speakers, so do have your questions ready, put them in the Q&A box. We'll take your questions after the first two speakers, and then after our second two speakers, we'll take another round of questions. So ladies and gentlemen, whether you're an exporter, an investor, if you're already doing business in the markets, or if you're interested or generally want to know more about this space, this dynamic space here in Barbados and Kenya trade, this is the dialogue for you. This is the session for you. It is a dialogue, so we want to hear from you. Okay, if it is you want to make a live intervention, please raise your hand so your mic can be unmuted and we will facilitate that. So enough from me. I'll move on to our first distinguished panelist, High Commissioner MacDonald. You've made history as Barbados's first High Commissioner to Kenya, and you're also the permanent representative to the United Nations office in Nairobi. And you're on the ground and you will see firsthand both the challenges and the opportunities. So we look forward to hearing from you, High Commissioner, your perspectives and insights. Over to you, High Commissioner. High Commissioner, I think you might be muted still.
Thank you. I was so excited to start, I forgot that I had some technical things to get done. Firstly, Minister Husbands, Anthony Branca, Misha Loban, Clark, Fatba Elamwe, Renata, fellow panelists, I greet you well from beautiful Kenya at 5,000 feet above the sea level, temperature now at 22 degrees on a warm summer's day in Kenya. I was very interested, and I first want to thank the Chamber for hosting this, because this is exactly what was anticipated when we signed the MOU for us to start breaking down barriers and to start talking about where we are, what we are, and the best way to do that is what Caribbean people, and I know now Kenyans love to do, which is to talk to each other. We love a good conversation. And in that regard, I'm going to try to just be very brief in my comments so as to leave a little bit more time for Q&A, because I know there are lots of questions. We've spoken a lot about Kenya before, but I think that maybe the Q&A will give us a chance to really help to clear up some of these ideas that we have. And so that brings me to the first area. In my talks, when I talk to Kenyans about our fair island, I realize that I first have to challenge them on their preconceived notions about where we are. And when I talk to my Bajan people, I also have to say to them, what do you think about Kenya? What do you know about Kenya? Most people, when they hear of Barbados, they think of two things, Rihanna and Prime Minister Motley. Most Kenyans know of PM Motley because obviously of our strong stance at UNEP. UNEP is based here, so lots of people hear about that. So I get that all the time. You have that Prime Minister. The second one is you have Rihanna. And I am always keen to tell them that, I know Rihanna personally and well, and she's coming over here in 2 weeks' time to just have some time. Naturally, that causes consternation. But those are the things that people know of us. But the other thing, the preconceived notion is that how can a country, 300,000 human beings, 166 square miles, which is probably just a little bit less than 3/4 of the size of Lake Naivasha, and Naivasha town is 700,000. How can Barbados hope to present itself as a viable partner? It's only until we start talking, because there are also some ideas that we spend a lot of time at the beach and we like to have our favorite brew. The other thing is that I tell Kenyans is that similarly, we think that there are lions roaming the streets and that there is some kind of safety and security issue. They laugh, I laugh, and then we realize that we are consuming the information or the propaganda that we've been carefully fed for a long time. So the first thing about Kenya, the first thing about Barbados is that those things that we think about are not true. Kenya, for our Barbadian colleagues, is a very sophisticated metropole, skyscrapers, very sophisticated, a bit of everything here. Barbados is similar in the sense that it is excellent in terms of its facilities, its ability to get things done, and the rest of the world knows that, but Africa certainly does not. The things that we share in same, I think President Branca spoke to them, our legal, cultural, business climate, and our attitudes are very, very similar. Kenyans do have a high sense of fair play and what's right and so forth, similar to us. And our attitudes and cultures are similar, but not exactly the same. And I leave it to you to ask questions about that. What we can do jointly together, obviously the air linkages and working on a regulatory environment that promotes both of our products within each other's markets. Those are things that we can do jointly. But if I look at it from a former head of the private sector's eyes, a former businessman coming to Kenya, and what do I see in Kenya? The opportunities for us, certainly niche areas in retail. We have some wonderful retail offerings that Kenya, I think, would consume in vast amounts. I think that services, especially in tourism-related services, we are very, very advanced in our tourism offering. Kenya, its height was 1.2 million tourists, 1.265 tourists. Barbados's high was 1.3 million. So though we are considerably smaller, we attract and cater to and move through as many, if not slightly more tourists than Kenya does. And I think in that way, we have a competitive advantage, in order to be able to offer services for accounting, legal advice in those areas. There are opportunities for us to take advantage of Kenya's manufacturing scale. In Kenya, they're well suited up to create products at scale, but also in small amounts. So many of you would have gone to, say, China, but you have to have a minimum order of 10,000 units. My experience dealing with Bajans who have come, manufacturing plants can do units of 50, 20, 30, depending on the type of product. I think we have lots of scope in terms of our food, culinary experience, restaurants and so on, design and those that kind of offering. We do have, I think, Kenya, if you came to Kenya, building is in the air. There are thousands of buildings going up. So I think that from observing the construction techniques and the professionals that are associated with construction are areas that are well worth taking a look at. For Kenya, one of obviously to insurance, banking, taking advantage of the Kenyan scale, but also more importantly, to take advantage of the fact that Kenya represents an entry point into East Africa. So that's Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Ethiopia. Kenya is a real hub and a real leader in these parts of the world. But what does Kenya offer? Kenya has very advanced financial services, online app development technology. One of its most tremendous attributes is that it has an extremely young population. So 50 million, probably maybe 30 million of those are under 30 years old. And that's a wonderful skill for us. We who are seeing population fall off, Kenya has lots of young folks. Captive insurance, we have a captive insurance offering that we can give to Kenya. And also the many areas of advance in banking that Kenya has that we can, I think, piggyback on. One of the most brilliant things about living here is the M-Pesa culture, which unless you live it, you don't understand it, but I'd be happy to talk to you more about it. I think that's what I would like to say. And I'd just like to say to our Bajan colleagues, one of the things that you will find in Kenya is that the people of Kenya are a tremendous asset to them. They're warm and welcoming, very friendly, and they want to do well. And I think that with that attitude, in the same sense that we have the same kind of warm, welcoming attitude, we're well paired to meet with each other. The questions and answers, I think if I'm asked, I will certainly be able to help you. So thank you very much.
Thank you as well, High Commissioner, not just for your perspectives on what Barbados can offer to Kenya, but likewise what Kenya could offer to Barbados, and also for the beautiful view of the mountains that you've literally showed us through your backdrop. I'll hand over now to Ms. Renata Mohammed, Director of Investment and Marketing at Invest Barbados. Ms. Mohammed, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you, High Commissioner. Protocols having been established, I invite you to consider Barbados as a place to live, work, play, invest, expand, export to, and grow. Just trying to organize our slides here for you. In addition to the sea and sun, for which we are well known for, a warm and welcoming investment climate awaits beyond the beaches. This webinar presents us with another opportunity to identify our synergies and explore the investment possibilities. So, welcome to Barbados. Who are we where are we, and who and what are we known for? To help connect the dots almost immediately when introducing our island, we admittedly name drop among our leading ladies, rock stars both in their own rights. International superstar and the world's most recent billionaire, Rihanna, was born here, and we are led by the Honorable Mia Motley, Prime Minister, whose style and stance has captured and captivated the world. As per global headlines, we were the first to introduce the Barbados Welcome Stamp, a 12-month visa launched in the height of the pandemic that allowed digital nomads to work from Barbados tax-free. Others have since followed, but the Barbados Welcome Stamp has thrived and continues to evolve. Additionally, we were the first in the world to announce our intent to have a digital embassy in the metaverse. Again, a domino effect has transpired, but let's not lose sight that the little island nestled in the Eastern Caribbean has tangible examples of leading the way. Innovation thrives here. Note too that as a member of the Caribbean community, products manufactured in Barbados enjoy duty-free access to the other Caribbean countries, and trade arrangements exist with the EU, USA, and Canada, making Barbados your gateway to the world. Some additional facts are noted here. Our size, 166 square miles. Our government, parliamentary republic. In fact, we are the newest republic in the world. Our language, English. Time zone, Atlantic Standard Time. Our population, small but agile and strong. Our workforce, almost half of that of our population. Our currency is the Barbados dollar. And if you do the math, you will recognize that our GDP and our GDP per capita, extremely admirable figures for a strong nation. In case not already abundantly clear, our objective is to forge stronger ties with you. Let me also make it clear that Barbados is very much open for business and all forms of investment, and I'd like to offer some top reasons for you to consider us. Ranked second for competitiveness among the Latin American and Caribbean countries by the Global Financial Centers Index, Barbados remains a resilient financial center with a stable credit rating. Ranking was based on the business environment, human capital, infrastructure, financial sector development, and reputation. I share this achievement to note that we have built and maintained a solid foundation for you, underpinned by transparency and compliance, manned by a highly educated workforce. There is free tertiary level education and a literacy rate of 99.6%. And yes, you heard me correct. Here you can also find political, economic, and social stability. We offer international sea and air connectivity and enjoy reliable, strong, and fast telecommunication connections, rated amongst the best in the Caribbean to keep you connected. We are well regulated, and while we appreciate the value of our tourism sector, global business is the business of Barbados. Indeed, Barbados has a long history in financial services with over 4,000 financial service companies, 40 double taxation agreements and counting, and 9 bilateral investment treaties. Barbados cut its corporation taxes from 25% to a range of 1% to 5.5%. Tax allowances for manufacturing and research and development reduce those rates even further. At this time, these are some of the lowest corporation tax rates anywhere in the world. Let me underscore that above it all, we offer and enjoy an amazing quality of life. If we were to take a deeper dive, Barbados brings to the surface specific objectives that make us the right choice for your business or investment. Our foreign currency permit comes with exemptions from exchange control, property transfer taxes, and transfers of shares or quotas. Our duty-free concessions are specific to certain industries and apply to imports, tax exemptions, training grants, and more. Tax losses brought forward are restricted to 50% of taxable income in any income tax year. Foreign currency tax credits means that a foreign country may be credited against tax payable in Barbados. As noted, we have a network of 40 double taxation agreements and counting, and as noted, companies operating in Barbados benefit from a minimum tax rate of 5.5%. United under the umbrella of the Commonwealth, there is much to explore in the interests of our collective futures. Allow me to excite you further with mention of some of the other investment opportunities that abound, from the traditional to the emerging. These include areas such as insurance, wealth management, financial services, information communication technology, renewable energy, and niche manufacturing, to name a few. We are the 5th largest captive insurance domicile in the world. Agriculture is also a sector that has experienced substantive growth. As such, investment opportunities in this sector are ripe for the picking, including areas like high food production, agro-processing, as well as farming, geared towards local and regional food security, among others. Note also that for Little Island, we have big scope as related to knowledge-based and high-value niche sectors, such as medical tourism, global education, and a pharmaceutical sector via medicinal cannabis. And if you wish to embrace Barbados as your second home, for you or your business or both, be assured that no restrictions exist on the purchase of commercial or residential real estate, representing a further opportunity for the non-national investor. What I've shared is but a sampling of what Barbados has to offer. If you welcome personalized insights and guidance, our team at Invest Barbados are available to be your guides free of charge from the point of interest to facilitation, investment, and growth. We are here to collectively ensure that Barbados works for you. This is an open invitation to come grow with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I also invite you to peruse our Blue Book. It's a comprehensive guide to immediately available investment opportunities on the island. That book is available via our website, investbarbados.com. Again, that's investbarbados.com, and can also be emailed to you. I thank you on behalf of the Government of Barbados and the National Investment Promotional Agency, Invest Barbados. A warm and welcoming investment climate awaits.
Thank you, Ms. Mohammed. And after a pitch like that, who could really resist, right? So thank you very much. In the interest of time, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go straight to our other two panelists, and then we'll have our Q&A afterwards. But I do see that there are some questions in the chat. And I do encourage you, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat so that our panelists could answer them during the Q&A. So it is my pleasure now to hand over to our third distinguished panelist, Mr. Rotish, who is the Manager of Investments at Ken Invest. Sir, you are an expert in this area. You work on this whole initiative towards promoting that relationship between Kenya and Barbados in terms of investment, and we look forward to hearing your perspective. Over to you, Mr. Rotish.
Thank you so much. Can you allow me to share?
Okay, our technical team will be right on that.
Can you allow me to share?
Hi, Mr. Rotish. You just need to click the share screen icon at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
And you also have access to share your video as well.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I think I've shared my screen. Good. Thank you very much, my fellow panelists, the chief guests for today, and the participants for today's virtual meeting. We look forward to engagement with our brothers and sisters from Barbados. My name is Pius Rotich. I'm the General Manager in charge of Investment Promotion and Business Development Services at the Kenya Investment Authority. So Kenya Investment Authority is a government agency established in 2004 through an act of parliament with the main mandate of promoting and facilitating investment in Kenya by both domestic and international investors. What we do is investment promotion. That is, we create awareness on Kenya's investability brand and we generate interest from potential investors. And also we improve we make sure that we do investment facilitation and aftercare services. That means that we fast track the implementation of new projects. We also ensure that we provide post-establishment support. We also say, or call ourselves our private sector body within the government because of our policy advocacy part, whereby we look at the issues affecting investments and so that we can advise the government in order to improve the business environment. So what is our product? Our product is Kenya. This Kenya, and I'm sure that you are looking at the screen, it's a country within Africa and specifically East Africa, and it's actually situated at the entry point of Africa. If you look at the East Africa, you will find that you have no choice but to enter through Kenya, that is Nairobi and Mombasa. To the south, we have South Africa, and to the north, we have Egypt. To the west, we have Lagos, Nigeria. But the most important entry point to Africa is Kenya, because there's got a lot of opportunities. There's got massive opportunities for Barbados, our brothers and sisters, to invest in. So basically, we are saying that if you are considering doing business in Africa, Kenya is actually your entry point, and Kenya is a requirement. We have said that welcome back to the motherland, and the only place where you can actually create your home within the motherland is Kenya. Why Kenya? Why are we talking about this great country? We are the third largest economy in Sub-Saharan Africa, and we have got the biggest GDP in the region. That is about 46% of the East African GDP. GDP per capita is about $2,000, and as mentioned and seen by your Ambassador Alexander, we have actually a growing middle class and a youthful population with an increasing appetite for high value of goods and services. We actually a regional hub, and we host over 200 multinational corporations in the region and continent-wide headquarters in Nairobi. So most of the headquarters of the national companies are actually in Nairobi. Robust financial system. The High Commissioner had also said that we are a financial hub of the region because we have got 43 banking institutions, 9 representative offices of foreign banks, 13 microfinance, and so on and so forth. And we've got Africa's UN headquarters, UNON, which is one of your 4 main UN Secretariat duty stations globally. Global headquarters of UNEP and UN Habitat, together with a joint presence of about 3 other agencies. In terms of communications and logistics, we are the hub of the region, and we can access regional transport corridors, 4 international airports, 2 ports, and 2 ICDs, internal container depots, 30 freight and 2 passenger rail services daily between Nairobi and Mombasa. For the international airports, Kenya has of course made sure that when we want to travel to see our brothers and sisters in North America, because that is where most of our population, which was taken to the North America, are actually situated in, we don't need to pay homage to the Queen anymore. Actually, we fly directly from Nairobi to New York, and I'm very glad that we're now looking at extension between New York, or code sharing in New York and Barbados. It's actually very important because if we want to trade amongst ourselves, we have to make the connectivity very comfortable and easier. And the business environment, once you do business in Kenya, once you register your company, then you can actually have what we call 100% repatriation of your capital and profits. Our constitution protect against expropriation of property. That means that the government of Kenya recognizes private property. So government will never nationalize your investment unless it is on public grounds. But we have got no example whereby we have nationalized any business. So you are good to go, you are safe to do business in the country. We have also investment guarantee, which is actually give risk again non-commercial risks. That is through MEGA and Africa Trade Insurance Agency, which we actually can take those insurances because we are members of these two great organizations. In terms of investment facilitation, we have got one-stop shop facilitation, periodic presidential roundtable with private sector. In fact, when your prime minister was here in 2019, she actually got to engage with our private sector and realize that the Kenya government actually engages with private sector very, very frequently. And actually, we as government, since we come from a government agency, we have given the private sector to do business. We do what we know best. We leave the private sector to do what they know best, to do business and to get profits and pay taxes. For us to create an enabling business environment. In terms of digitization of government services, we want to say that we have made a very big stride. Say that you are able to transact within government services through e-government opportunities and so on and so forth, and the platforms. So most of our government dealings are at the moment is actually that you interface with the technology. So with this, actually, you reduce a lot of bureaucracies and potential issues of corruption and so on and so forth. We have also industrial zone programs, the export processing zones and the special economic zones, so on and so forth. In terms of investment attractiveness, political and macroeconomic stability is realized actually in our country, and we have high level productivity. We have a large pool of youthful population, trainable and literate workforce. Globally competitive environment, we are number 56 in the ease of doing business in the world, and first for the 5 years in a row in financial inclusion through what our High Commissioner is saying, that through our M-Pesa and money, actually money which is handled online, we've made sure that we brought anyone, all Kenyans through this platform. First globally in protection of minority investors, and Nairobi is Africa's leading business travel destination. Second in Africa in terms of logistics performance. In terms of market access and good trade relations, as you are aware that we've seen that the balance of trade between Kenya and Barbados is actually in favor of Barbados, but that balance of trade or trade engagement between us and Barbados is quite low, but we need to improve so that we can be able to be talking business. Total import is USD 17 billion, and total exports is US 6.09 billion. The financial trade agreements, we've made sure that the government is reaching out in order to create wide market access within the world or within the globe. And we have realized that we've decided to engage the economic partnership agreement, the EU, AGOA, the COMESA, the CFTA, and this totals to about 1.7 billion population, which we are actually assisting the private sector to access with a value of about 40 trillion US dollars. And there is Kenya's untapped export potential, which has actually been done by ITC, which is now remaining at about 4.1 billion USD. So our great export destination is, of course, Uganda. We have Netherlands and US and so on and so forth. We want to see how we want to improve business between ourselves, the Barbados, so that at least we can reach out to the Caribbeans. So top Kenyan imports from Barbados includes liquor and other spirit beverages, cellulose, chemical derivatives, coffee, food, preparation seeds, and so on and so forth. Top exports include motor cars, garments, furniture, footwear, and so on and so forth. Potential exports to Barbados from Kenya is tea, nuts, and oils. And I think Yamina will take us through this so that we can be able to see what are the products which you can export to this region. Now, there are several opportunities which has been identified by the government of Kenya through what we call Kenya Vision 2030. It's a long-term development blueprint which aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrialized middle-income country by the year 2030. And we've got numerous opportunities in all the 8 sectors, and the enabler sectors such as infrastructure, energy, technical skilling, etc. We are focused on tourism, oil and gas, manufacturing, business process outsourcing, agriculture, wholesale and retail, economy, and the rest. The current government or the government of President, His Excellency President Ruto, has actually identified what we call a bottom-up economic approach, whereby we want to bring up those businesses which are actually small businesses, SMEs, because this is actually the lifeline of the economy. And in the areas of interest, actually we are focusing on also agro-processing. We want to commercialize agriculture, manufacturing, small and medium enterprises. We are looking at housing, digital superhighway, environment, and climate change. These areas will be able to uplift the small and medium enterprises to be tomorrow's multinationals, because currently they are small and medium enterprises, and we want to build them into tomorrow's multinational. We've seen a lot of companies which have graduated from Kenya, from small enterprises to big companies, which are now becoming regional, and actually there's gone global. And that's the reason why we are saying we are the hub of business in Africa at the moment. Kenya Investment Authority has identified several projects or investor-ready projects, and we want to tell you that in our portals, which I will show you the next slide, we have projects, about 402 projects worth more than USD 63 billion USD, which the business community or investors can look at so that you can start engaging with the government. Those projects which were validated are 178, which is about USD 27.9 billion. And bankable projects, that means the projects with which has feasibility studies is actually for you just to come and invest in R65, amounting to about USD 19.5 billion dollars. Teasers are the ones, great ideas, great concepts, which require some panel pitching, 21 of them with about USD 2.7 billion dollars. So you are welcome to these opportunities so that you can engage us so that you can be able to learn those projects. We want to assure you that we have the excellent business ecosystem. That means you've got several multinationals which actually you can work with, a good mix of multinationals, a number of whom have set up their regional and continental-wide headquarters in Nairobi, including Vivo Energy, Coca-Cola, Citibank, got Huawei, Toyota. All these companies are actually coming from all over, and you have an opportunity to come and link up with them and see and also find out why they are succeeding in Kenya or Africa. I would not want to take a lot of time, but I want you to visit our e-regulations portal. It's a step-by-step procedure of investing in Kenya. This portal actually creates transparency because you can actually engage with the regulators so that you can be able to transact business registration and so on and so forth. So we have 275 investment procedures which are established by the Republic of Kenya and contained in this portal. You can visit our e-opportunities portal where I've said that there are several projects where Kenya Invest has profiled and packaged and mapped out investment opportunities, and we upload on a regular basis on this e-opportunities portal. Please visit this so that you can be able to learn those 402 projects which I mentioned. We actually handle what we call a Kenya government one-stop center. This one-stop center aims to streamline the overly complex processes. Some of the key functions we currently operate in our one-stop center on behalf of the Republic of Kenya are company registration. We have tax registration. We have immigration office here in our offices. You can obtain an environmental impact assessment certificate, export processing zone and special economic zone setup, registration of land, power connectivity, social security, and so on and so forth. So all these services are provided in a one-stop center at the Kenya Investment Authority on behalf of the Republic of Kenya. I would like to say that if you are going to do business, Kenya is a requirement. And I would like to invite you, our brothers and sisters from Barbados, that if you're going to live in Ireland, Kenya is actually the place to be. I would like to say that we got a visit from your Prime Minister, and she officiated one of our celebrations. That was very great to be there because we personally engaged with her, and we found out that she was excited about coming to Africa so that she can be able to increase trade and investment between the two regions. So on behalf of the Kenyan government, I would like to invite you to come and do business in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotish, for a very comprehensive presentation, very, very insightful. We are a bit behind time, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to hand over now to Mr. David Yamina, who's the Manager of Product Development of the Kenya Promotion and Branding Agency. Please, if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we are trying our best to respond to them as quickly as possible. Over to you now, Mr. Yamina, our final speaker.
Thank you so much, Alicia Nicholas. Thank you very much to our High Commissioner, the Barbados High Commissioner to Kenya, Alexander McDonald, who has spoken very eloquently about the business atmosphere in Kenya and the perception issues that needed to be addressed, that he did very well. I did share my presentation earlier with the Barbados team, and I wouldn't mind if they can roll it down so that I go through it hurriedly to enable us actually to capture the time that we had anticipated will be adequate enough for us to complete these sessions. So kindly just, if you can present it, you can be moving fast enough to enable us to finish in good time. Alicia, I hope I'm audible enough.
Hi, Mr. Yamina. Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
I'll want to move a bit faster because of the time factor. And as you can see, let's start from the first slide. The point of correction will be that actually we are not the Kenya Promotion and Branding Agency. We are the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. The export component was actually omitted. And as you can see from the starting photo, that is the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi. And you can see our coffee and flowers there. These are some of the leading export products that we are proud of as Kenya that we are exporting to the world. During my presentation, I'll dwell very much on what we are actually selling to the world and what will be very much privileged also to extend our franchise to Barbados, our brothers and sisters in the far American continent, so that they can also enjoy the beauty of our products. I'll dwell very much on who we are as an organization, how we are performing in terms of exports performance, and also we shall be looking at the kind of interventions that we have in place aimed at increasing our exports. And then we shall look at also the prioritized products and the markets to which we are exporting most of these products at the moment. Let's move to the next slide. To start with, I'll look at our mandate, why we exist as Kenya Export Promotion Branding Agency. We were merged in the year 2019 after having been existent since the year 1992 when we were first established. But due to the interest of the branding component in the export development program, we had actually to be merged with one of the agencies in Kenya called Brand Kenya to form the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency with the core mandate of implementing the export promotion and nation branding initiatives and policies to promote Kenyan exports of goods and services globally. Next slide. Our vision is to transform Kenya into a top global brand, and our mission is to brand Kenya, export Kenyan, and build Kenya. And our tagline is inspiring global trade. Our core mandates, or our core values, one is collaboration. We believe very much in collaboration. We are customer-centric. Customer is the king, so we always do what the customer wants. Innovation is very critical in most of our interventions. We also believe in being energetic and passionately Kenyan, meaning as we do our business, we have to pride ourselves as being Kenyans and give it the best that it deserves from our hearts. Our strategic objectives are as follows. One is to develop, diversify, and brand Kenyan export products. The second one is to develop and diversify Kenya's export markets, to manage the image and reputation of Kenya as a brand, and also to strengthen the institutional capacity of Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency in order to effectively deliver on its mandate. Next slide. So what are the services that we offer? One, we do carry out market intelligence under the Directorate of Research and Innovation. This is aimed at giving us the opportunity to make informed decisions based on the realities that we have realized from the export markets where we are intending to export our products. So we make informed choices with regards to what we want to export, where we want to export, and when we want to export. We have also the International Market Development and Promotion unit, where we are looking at what are some of the activities that we need to undertake in order to promote our products or services to specific markets. We also look at the product development and adaptation for our small and medium enterprises, as Pius has correctly put it. The small and medium enterprises are priority sector for our engagements because their contribution to the export basket needs to be enhanced. And as a result of that, we do a lot in terms of supporting them, develop products that effectively adapt to the international market standards and then direct them to those markets. Export trade training component is also critical in our mandate because we need to build the capacity of our exporters in terms of knowledge and information about exports. And also we do carry out advocacy for policy formulation and review to ensure that the smooth sailing of our export sector doesn't get much barriers when they are entering specific markets. And above all, we value nation branding, having learned lessons from the fact that in as much as we are a leading exporter in some of the very critical products, very few people globally know about the source for these products. Let's move to the next slide. So we have technical departments that have been established at KEPROBA, which actually handles most of these items that I've talked about. One, we have the Research and Innovation Department, which actually handles economic intelligence and export trade market research. We also have the Product and Market Development Directorate, which is taking care of the supply and the market side, that is product development and export market development. Thirdly, we also have the Nation Branding and Nation Brand Development and Communication Directorate, which looks at public relations, corporate communications, and branding. And most importantly, also we have the Resource Center, where trade advisory services are provided for those who are interested in knowing more about the international market and how they can venture into export trade. For us to effectively undertake our technical assignments, we also depend very much on the support services that are provided to this directorate. One, we have the Corporate Services Unit, which is actually the Human Resource and Administration Unit and Finance. We also have the Corporate Strategy Planning and Risk and Quality Assurance Unit, which provides corporate strategy and planning for the organization and risk and quality assurance management. We have partnership and stakeholder engagement. These are the units that help us in identifying suitable partners locally and internationally whom we can engage with. And lastly, we have the internal audit and supply chain management who provide us the much needed support, including legal and board affairs. So that gives us a nutshell the framework within which we operate as an organization. I wish now to move to the export component, where we're looking at the export, nation, brand, and performance. In the period 2010, Kenya's exports grew at an average of 8.3%, as can be seen from the chart on the next side, on the right side, where Kenya's export grew by 17% from Kenya shillings 743 billion in 2021 to 868.3 billion in 2022. So the blue margin shows you that actually this is the level of our export performance, but unfortunately, the imports to the country have been overwhelming. They are more than 3 times more than what we are exporting to the international market. And in such a case, therefore, our balance of trade is unfavorable to Kenya because we are importing more than what we are exporting. Next slide. So as I've said, the exports grew by 8.3% on average. And over the last 10 years, export performed better in the first half of the decade, that is 2010 to 2015, compared to 2016 to 2021, where exports grew by an average annual rate of 9% between 2010 and 2015. In contrast, export increased in 2016 and 2021 by 6.1% on average annually. Next, please. Now, what are our shares in terms of exports and how is it distributed internationally? On my left side, you'll see the sectors that actually have dominated our export market performance. In the year 2021, horticulture was the leading export sector, with commanding 31.1% of the export basket, followed by tea. And here we need to understand that tea is our single product sector, while horticulture comprises of fruits, vegetables, and flowers. Then we have the textiles and apparel, which command 6.2% of our total exports. We have minerals and fuels. These are re-exports mainly, commanding 4.1%. Minerals and ores. Then we have coffee. Coffee was one of our leading export products earlier in the years, but at the moment it has really gone down. Then we have animal and vegetable fats commanding 3.2%, iron and steel 2.1%, salt and cement 2.4%, machinery and appliances commanding 2.1%, and the rest demands for all the other products that have not been mentioned above. On the right side, you'll see actually in 2022, tea overtook horticulture as the leading export product, and crude animal and vegetable materials also came in third, followed by textile and clothing, mainly because of the AGOA market in the USA. And then we have coffee and substitutes increasing their performance by 4.5%. We have essential oils and resinoids and perfume materials occupying 2.5%, and all the other products 29.2%. Let's move further, faster. I can see I've been told time is moving fast. Yeah, I'll suggest we just move to the next one, because these are the markets where we are selling our products now. You can see our export performance by destination. Europe is occupying a better percentage, but most of our trading partners internationally are actually from the East African community, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, Burundi, followed by the European Union, and then the Far East, where we have China and other countries, including Asia, and then the rest of Africa is coming in. We can move to the next. That is the same thing. It is just giving a further translation of what we have talked about in terms of export trade by country. We can move to the next one. Yeah, here you can see actually our leading export destination in terms of direction of products is actually the Ugandan market, which is commanding 23% of total exports as a country, followed by Tanzania, that is in the EAC market, and then Rwanda, DRC, South Sudan, and then Burundi. Kenya trades very much with its regional partners, and as a result of that, the majority of the export products are actually confined to the regional market. Let's move to the next. So Kenya's share in 2021, with regards to this, Uganda occupied 42% of our total exports in the regional market, followed by Tanzania 20, Rwanda 14, DRC 11, South Sudan 7, and Burundi 3.5. Let's proceed. I'll prefer we go beyond this. Let's just continue, because branding, we can overlook that. I want us to go to the products, because that is a segment that will attract more attention. Those are just some of the programs that we undertake aimed at increasing our exports, but I want to go to the real issues where we see which are the products that we are focusing on, and how can Barbados be one of the countries that will benefit from the export of these products. We can proceed, just move on. These are the priority areas which the current government has focused on. That is market access, product development, export market development. aimed at strengthening Kenya's export performance. The value chain that the current government has prioritized for export development is leather products, dairy, edible oils, garments, textiles, tea, and construction or building material. So the interventions that are being sought here, one is sensitization on market requirements and opportunities for those who are interested. Two, we have identification of legal and regulatory reform areas. And we have also the strengthening, there is a hand up that strengthening foreign commercial representation, where we are thinking of actually setting up commercial offices in strategic markets for purposes of making our presence felt, and also the customers to have a clear understanding of what we can offer within the shortest time possible, and product development to ensure that what we are exporting adapts and meets the international market requirements for the markets that we have identified. Move to the next slide, please. Let's move to the next one. So these are our prioritized products for exports. We have tea, cut flowers, processed edible nuts, that is cashew nuts, macadamia, and groundnuts. We have coffee, that is green, decaffeinated, and roasted. We have manufactured tobacco and cigarettes, meat and meat products, pharmaceutical, medicaments, textile and apparels, fruits, that is fresh and preserved, fruits and vegetable juices. Vegetables, we have fresh and preserved vegetables as well. And then we have iron and steel products, that is flat rolled bars and rods, also wire is included in this. Next slide. The other products under the same component is food preparation, salt, soap and detergents, leather and leather products, motor vehicles. We have started doing some manufacturing of motor vehicles, but at a very low scale. Blue economy, that is fish and fish products, herbs, spices, honey, and other products of special interest like sisal, pyrethrum, stevia, marine fisheries, and chat, that is mira. Next slide. So these are some of the markets where we have actually dominated our presence. We can move to the next slide where we can just identify them by name. We have Pakistan is one of our leading export markets because of our tea. We have Uganda, Tanzania, the United States of America. And when we talk of the US by extension, we are also talking of Barbados, because Barbados is an annex of actually the United States of America. We have the United Arab Emirates, Germany, China, and the rest flows, as you can see on the screen. Let's move to the next one. I wish to come to an end of my presentation because now this is to show you where we are located in Nairobi. That is the 1st and 16th floor at Anniversary Towers. I believe we are Balozi. Balozi actually is the High Commissioner in Swahili. Could be in a position also to visit us one of these fine days and know where you're operating from. We are on the University Way. And I wish to conclude by thanking everyone for your time and also your presence during this important session. Thank you so much. Alicia, I hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yamina. And I am aware that we are a bit over time, but after all, this is a session for you and we want to get to as many of your questions as possible. So please do bear with us. We have several questions, including a hand raise, which I'll come to shortly. But before that, I just wanted to flag a few questions for the panelists' attention so that they could think about what responses they would like to give to the persons posing the question. First question here, good morning. Can we get an indication of how easy it is to set up a business in Kenya? Or any other East African country? If you establish one, is it easy to work in the other? And this person is a construction consultant. So Mr. Yamina, if you would like to take this question, you could think about it and I'll come back to you. Another question here is with regard to trust and corporate services sector, with regard who are the regulatory and licensing authorities in Kenya. I'll direct this question to Mr. Rotish because you are the representative of the IPA in Kenya and you'll be best able to advise. And Mr. Alistair Scott is asking about the orange economy with regard to, well, more so a comment. And Mr. Albert Lee is talking about, acting about existing research being done to help identify specific areas of interest and opportunities. Each of the speakers did identify several areas of opportunities in their speeches, but good question. And just to note that the recording is going to be made available on the BCCI's website. So if you did miss some of the opportunities that were identified, you could feel free to have a listen back. And there was also a question with regard to, a comment rather, about logistics and supply services as well. So I will go now to the person who has their hand raised, Ms. Pigot. And in the interim panelists, please feel free to think about the questions that I've posed to you based on what was identified in the chat, and I'll come back to you for your responses. So I'll hand the floor over now to Ms. Pigot to ask her question. Ms. Pigot, you can feel free to unmute.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having this. Just a quick comment here. So just around a year ago, I spent four months in Nairobi and in Naivasha after working with my business partner. So I just want to share some of the cultural and societal similarities that I found. I spent the majority of my time with young people between the ages of 25 to 35, and there was very, very similar experiences that I found it very, very easy to just assimilate into the culture. So I found that we have very similar drinking cultures. There's a heavy drinking culture in Nairobi and a large drinking culture all over Barbados, as people would know. So immediately what came to mind as I was talking to my friends in Kenya and so on is, our rum and our artisan alcoholic beverages that Barbados is really now brewing up. So I know that there's an ease that would be beneficial for businesses in Barbados to take advantage of. In addition to that, I found Kenyans, some of the Kenyans were really happy with DJ Puffy. DJ Puffy is quite popular in Kenya, so there's also some similarities there. But as it relates to imports, I was thinking to as the cost of living in Barbados continues to rise, the Kenyan coffee industry. Personally, I'm a huge coffee drinker, and finding affordable coffee here in Barbados is ridiculous. And when I was in Kenya, coffee is just aplenty. So that's another opportunity there, especially as we have more remote workers and people coming who are avid coffee drinkers. Another thing that I thought about was agriculture. Kenyans generally have a really good hand and are experts at agriculture, and even the family that I was with, the Caragos, are experts at agriculture. So I know there's some knowledge sharing that can be had there. But I just want to share those few points around, the culture. There's a heavy drinking culture and partying and so on that I know. And Calypso, even Calypso, as I shared, like the Mighty Gabi with my friends in Kenya, these are things that people picked up and they continue singing and so on. So these are some easy entry points that I find between the two cultures that made it easy for me as a business person doing business in Nairobi. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Ms. Pigot, for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure that this has been helpful to many of those who will be interested in doing business between our two countries. So thank you very much for that. I see High Commissioner has his video on. I don't know if he wants to weigh in on any of the questions raised before I go to Mr. Yamina.
No, I was only had the video on because when Ms. Pigot, when Donnie was speaking, I was happy to hear that she reaffirmed that view. Just on the drinking culture, the alcohol culture, the 4 or 5 times that we've had rum tastings, they have all gone down extremely well. The big issue is, when can we get it? How soon can we get it? And where can we get it? If there are people associated with the rum in this industry, I think that's a wonderful chance for you to start to address that problem. I've sampled nearly all of the rums, and my favorite, which I have an abundance of, I don't have any more because Kenyans really do like that flavor. The rums that they get in Kenya are not what we would consider to be the premium brands like the West Indies rums, the Mount Gaze, and so on. So again, a chance for us to ease in here, 50 million, and then another 200 million around in East Africa.
And thank you very much for that insight, High Commissioner. And some persons have been asking about the opportunities. I know you in your presentation and others in their presentations identified some of the opportunities, and this is yet another one. So I hope everyone is taking notes about some of the opportunities there. And this is going to be an ongoing initiative, so don't think that this is your only opportunity. Okay, so with regard to the question that was raised by Mr. Owen about the ease of setting up a business in Kenya, Mr. Yamina, I was thinking about directing this question to you as you're the representative here from the Kenyan Promotion Agency. Would you like to take this question?
Thank you, Alicia. I think, yeah, thank you for the question. Outrightly, the question falls under investment, and Mr. Pius is best placed because he's representing the Kenya Investment Authority in Kenya. He's the best place to respond to that. But I would just like to say a word about what Zidonia has shared about her experience in Kenya. Indeed, we do appreciate and like partying very much, especially so on Fridays and Saturdays when we're watching football. And as the High Commissioner has correctly said, when I visited Barbados, I carried some bottles of Mount Gay rum to Kenya. And indeed, they were taken up very well by Kenyans here. And I was challenged to provide additional supplies, which I could not get any around me. So there are opportunities lying there. And as far as coffee sector is concerned, yes, we have actually some of the best coffee products in the country, which has been accepted internationally. But at the moment, regardless of the low production capacity that we are experiencing, this is something that we can actually partner with Barbados and see how we can have a program where we can supply and set shop also in Barbados, so they can have a feel and taste of the Kenyan coffee. It is actually very good, as the High Commissioner said, and we like taking that on the evenings like today before we go home with cappuccino and others. So I want to allow Rotich to actually effectively respond to those questions because they directly fall within his docket. I thank you.
Certainly, thank you so much, Mr. Yamina. I stand advised, and you are indeed right. Now that I sit down, I think about it. Yes, it would be better for Mr. Rotich, but thank you as well. Mr. Rotich, would you be able to answer the questions?
Which questions are these?
This will be regarding the ease of establishing a business in Kenya, and this person is in the area of construction. So I think that you know, you'd be the best person to answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia. Yeah, I would like to say that the registration of business in Kenya is actually very easy. It's actually just like taking a cup of coffee, as spoken by the previous speaker. You can even do it once you are in Barbados at the moment. You can log into our e-citizen.go.ke, and you can be able to start processing towards establishment of your company. You can also come and visit us physically here, and alternatively, you can make a phone call. The other thing is that you can give us an email. So whichever suits you, that will be the start of registering a company or start operate. I mean, a journey towards establishing one company in Kenya. So you can log into e-citizen.go.ke. Then you can submit your three names, preferred names. You can either incorporate. Incorporated as a Kenya Limited company, which is actually desirable. Once it is a Kenya Business Limited company, then you can pay corporate tax of about 30%. Once you want to have a PLC or You want to have a branch office, then you have to pay corporate tax of about 7.5%. Remember, all these taxes you are supposed to be paying is actually out of the profit you've made. Now, it is as easy as that. You don't require a Kenyan director to be, so that you can be forced in order to be a joint venture or a director within your company. You can establish as a citizen from Barbados, because a Kenya Limited company is a corporate citizen of its own. So it is as simple as that. And I would like to urge our brothers and sisters from Barbados that start with Kenya Investment Authority, and we shall give you the best services, because our services are free. We are here on behalf of the Republic of Kenya. You can give us an email, and we shall be able to engage with you. You can give us a call anytime once you are available, and we can be engaged with you. It's very easy to establish a business in Kenya. If you listen to the street advice, you will get street advice. If you listen to Kenya Investment Authority, we are a government agency, and you will get the government answers. So I would like all of us to start engaging with Kenya Investment Authority, because we are the government agency in charge of supporting investors to start businesses in the country. Remember, Kenya Investment Authority is the home of investors. This is your home. So don't feel shy to approach us. We'll be able to give you the best services on behalf of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotesh. And I'll give the floor now to Second Vice President Fatma Al-Mawi of KNCCI, who wants to make an intervention. Ms. Al-Mawi?
Thank you, Alicia. In addition to what our colleagues from Can Invest, that is Mr. Rotich, who's very, very conversant, to be honest, with investment in Kenya, I just want to add, once you've set up a company here in Kenya, and if you are in the construction sector, that means you also need to write to the NCA, that is the National Construction Authority, and then they will place you. They have categories. Are you a big contractor, somebody that builds roads? Do you do houses? Do you do malls? Do you do bridges? So once you have registered in Kenya, you write to NCA, and then NCA will assess your capability and will give you a license depending on the capability of your firm. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Ms. Al-Mawi, as well. So we have, our very efficient representative here from Invest Barbados has been responding to some of the other questions as well in the chat. So if it is that your question might not have been read out by myself, just check to see that it hasn't been answered already by one of the panelists who have been given the time, who have been going through to check. The last question is one around research. Sorry, Ms. Al-Mawi, you wanted to come in again?
No, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so a next question is on research about, is there ongoing research looking at some of the areas of opportunities? I know some of them have been identified here, but has this been, because of anecdotal knowledge, or has there been active research in this, is what I think Mr. Lee was asking. So I will pose this one to High Commissioner McDonald and any of the other panelists who will want to jump in. Over to you, High Commissioner.
Thank you so much for that. The matter of research, I think, is an international plague. In the sense of how much research is enough and how much will be given comfort. There's a lot of research on product, services, capacity that we've done with the Chamber, in the Ministry of Trade, the trade arm. But what I think is that there's not been very deep research done into different products, into different services and the capacities. So a lot of the research has to be more of an extrapolated type, given, people will say, well, Kenya is 50 million, maybe an affluent middle class of maybe 10 or 5% earning capacity. So people tend to make judgments along those lines, a heuristic type of research. What it does open the door for too, obviously, is for research to be done that does have value. As anybody knows, a company that does research of a good quality would be able to sell that to interested parties, depending on the area that they're looking at. But I think that for both of us on both sides, remember that the average per capita GDP in Barbados is 21,000. The average GDP capacity in Kenya is about, I think, 2,000 to 5, somewhere around there. So you can kind of start to make some kinds of thoughts about where that would go. And remember, 50 million persons, Nairobi is about 10 million, between 7 and 10, depending on who you ask. And there's a lot of affluence in these areas, in this area here. So you can start to make, and every product is consumed in both places with different degrees of sophistication. Obviously, coming to Kenya, coming to Barbados is also an excellent tonic for ignorance. Once you come, you can start to see what you actually feel. As a mission here, we tend to think about how Bajans would want to consume products or to export products into Kenya. But for an entrepreneur, they will see other twists that they can see. I mean, I think just basically Kenyans have a capacity to make anything, and usually done at the side of a road too. They can do. There's lots of people at the side of the road doing lots of things informally, but then there's also a formal manufacturing base, a formal, as Kenya Investors has spoken about. It's really good to go straight there. They share the same building as our mission, so we're friendly.
Thank you so much, High Commissioner, and that's really good to know. That benefits us, doesn't it? Okay, so with regard now, I'll take one more question, and this is from Ms. Rowe, who asks about the trust and corporate services sector, who are the regulatory and licensing agencies in Kenya, and I'll direct this to Mr. Rotish, who is here from the from Kenya Invest. So, Mr. Rotish.
Thank you so much. Once again, I've just indicated that let me this one be my homework, and then I can get the step-by-step guide in order to get exactly the steps which are required, because we have to really be able to guide the person who is asking this question. But all in all, the most important thing is actually incorporation of the company, which must be started with the registrar of companies through the steps I've indicated earlier. And therefore, Kenya Investment Authority is ready to handhold the investor so that we can make sure that the registration and the commencement of business engagement here in Kenya is actually smooth. I'm also very happy that I'm still in office, and I think after this call, we shall be meeting with the High Commissioner in the building so that we can see how we can engage further, so that we are able to ensure that all the questions which have been asked are actually done justice for. So may I request if possible, I can get the email, I can side chat with the person asking the question, and then I will just give her the guidelines, step-by-step guide towards establishing that kind of business in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rotish. And as you would be aware, ladies and gentlemen, we are behind time, but thank you so much again for your questions. If your question has not been directly answered live, more than likely it has been by one of the panelists in the Q&A. So do check for that answer there. Thank you so much. It was indeed a pleasure. And I'll hand over now to Madam Chair, Ms. Loban Clark, who made sure that we're on time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for facilitating this session. And thanks to our panelists as well for assisting us to achieve the objective that we set out to do, which was really to build that bridge of communication and information sharing that we hope at the end of the day will help to bring better understanding of the markets, both markets. So thank you very much, High Commissioner William Alexander McDonald. Thank you for the insights you shared regarding doing business with Kenya in Nairobi, Kenya, for highlighting the similarities that exist between the culture and the economy. Thank you, Renata, for promoting Barbados as a strong, stable, and attractive investment market. And you know, we really do appreciate the work that you and the team at Invest Barbados continue to do in terms of promoting investment opportunities that Barbados has to offer. P.S. Rotish, thank you also from Kenya Invest for increasing our awareness on the in terms of the mandate of Kenya Invest and how you can assist business persons from Barbados who have an interest in exploring and taking advantage of the wide market access and trade opportunities that Kenya has to offer. David Yamina, thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge that you also shared. And at this time, I will hand over to Ms. Fatma Elmawi, the second Vice President of the Kenya National Chamber, who will give the formal vote of thanks to close out today's session.
Thank you, Misha. I would start by thanking Your Excellencies, Madam Sandra Husbands, Your Excellency, High Commissioner to Kenya, Ambassador William Alexander, my colleague, BCCI President, that is Mr. Anthony Branca. And I also want to thank all the speakers, starting with Madam Renata from the Barbados Investment, Mr. Rotich, my colleague, and Mr. Yamin from Keproba. I also want to thank our facilitator, that is Alicia. And of course, I started with Misha. I want to end with Misha as well. This has been a wonderful discussion because nothing gets done without talking to each other. We have realized that there is an opportunity, and the challenge is notwithstanding, because only when you talk, that's when you realize you do have challenges, and then you automatically start thinking, how do we overcome those challenges? The challenges are not unsurmountable. They can be surmounted, they can be overcome. And I look forward to actually going deeper, looking into the research, extrapolating. As we say, Your Excellency, in Kenya, we guesstimate. When you extrapolate, you guesstimate, which can be done. And thank you so much for this opportunity so that we can work together. The one stakeholder that I'd like to thank at this point in time are the business people who are here with us. Because without you, the business person, such forums will actually not be necessary. So thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatma. And ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of today's program. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope you found the session informative and beneficial as we sought to help you to get to know and better understand the Barbados and Kenya markets. Join the Barbados Chamber and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce for the next virtual dialogue series, which we intend to have in June. And we will be focusing on the financial services sector, including fintech, wealth management, captive insurance, which High Commissioner McDonald spoke of in his address. Once again, thank you and a pleasant good morning and good evening to our colleagues on the continent of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you all very much. Delightful.
Bye.